Growing up, I wasn't the most outspoken person whatsoever. I was actually incredibly shy. I think it was a product of my environment because I didn't look like the other people around me. And therefore, whenever I spoke, I either felt as though I was representing, my entire community, or I felt like by default, anything I was saying was incorrect. It wouldn't match up with what other people thought or agreed with. So I found myself being incredibly introverted. Like, I would rarely speak, and I just distinctly remember in primary school, there was this one time where like this girl, she had like a birthday party, and she invited all the girls from primary school except for me and another girl who conveniently looked like me. Not to say that, she didn't like, different colored people, but it definitely left something within me where I felt like I had to hide myself. I had to be really quiet. I couldn't really speak up. Fast forward to when I was 11 and I moved to the UK. And I think the diversity of what I saw made me feel a lot more comfortable. What I saw in people made me feel a lot comfortable expressing myself. I think people automatically assume that outspoken equals confident and introvert equals, underqualified, inadequate, incompetent. And that is not the case. Like, we've all heard the saying, oh, the loudest person in the room is not often the person that's the most correct. And a lot of people are overcompensating for what they don't know here by doing a lot over here. And I can see some truth in that. And it's quite interesting in the corporate world to see how a lot of people are favored. Yes, they have, the merit, they work hard, etc., etc. But you can see a lot of charisma, a lot of people just being liked, judging by their team, different reports being written in favor of people because they are well liked. And there's certain careers where it is important for you to be likable. For example, like doctors, for example. I think we all remember roughly an experience with a GP, a doctor, a nurse that has either left a really good impression because, they're personable, they're kind, they listen to us, and experiences that weren't the best because you felt as though the person would rather like look at paint dry, if that makes sense. Or even like being a lawyer, being a law student lawyer, you get what I mean. Like, I can see a lot that in class, for example, when people shout out the answer or put their hand up a bit more, automatically in your head, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, they know everything. And there are definitely some perks of being outspoken, I would say, but I think there's a benefit of being a bit more quiet, and there's a benefit of observing as opposed to always being the one to speak, because when you're speaking, the attention is on you naturally, but I think it takes away from your ability to actually listen and engage and get information out of others, as opposed to you always giving the information. But I think one thing that I found, maybe because I'm a bit more like smiley, because I think I'm a smiley person, is that people share a lot of information with me just in general. Like, they'll tell me about, like, if I ask a question, because I am generally interested in what people have to say, like, hence why I think I am quite a curious individual. Like, I'll ask questions naturally. It's just kind of interesting to see how being spoken, like outspoken, and you being a talkative person can really get you through doors in life with people, which I think it's a good thing. There definitely are benefits of being outspoken, talking a bit more. And even like right now, we have a new industry of like influencers, people posting their content online, people talking to a screen, and they're making like multiple figures a day just by putting themselves out there and being a lot more outspoken. We all know that person that speaks a lot yet says nothing, and yet we know a different person, for example, they speak and like the entire room just listens, like you're locked in conversation, you really enjoy, you walk away from that person feeling so uplifted. Like, those are two different kinds of individuals. Actually, we all want to be the latter as opposed to the former, because who would want to be the kind of person that bores people when they're speaking? And I find it so interesting because the art of conversation is linked very much to networking, your ability to sell yourself to other people, your quality, your skills, your attributes, but at the same time get information that will be helpful towards you. Like, let's say, once again, you're an aspiring lawyer and you want to learn about the best internships to apply to, you want to learn about the best career routes, the best firms to apply to. Networking can help you because you learn from people already who have done what you've you've gone through. I remember growing up and hearing the phrase curiosity the cat, and I never really got it until recently. Like there are definitely things that you don't need to know and things you shouldn't prod at, because why is your conversation gossip? Why is your conversation about other people? Why is it not about building connections? I hear it. But on the flip side as well, with curiosity, I think it's one of the best things that can help you in conversation. Like for me personally, whenever I meet new people or even with my friends, I just want to know about them. Like, what are your interests? What are your dislikes? And how do we relate? How do we differ? And I think that is what can help you be a good conversationalist. Your wanting of information, you're wanting of imparting information as well, and not from any ulterior motive. I mean, unless a friendship counts as one, I guess, but like, and not to get ahead, but just for the sake of just wanting to expand your mind. Like, I love when people tell me about their interests. Like, tell me about how you're into rowing, or you're into softball, or how you're into like random flags. Like, I want to know about that, because I don't know anything about that. And I think one of the reasons as to why the art of conversation is being lost today is that people don't feel comfortable expressing that they don't know something, or it's also a thing that we as human beings are trying so hard for our voices to be heard so much without acknowledging that there are other parties in said conversation. And that's why I think it can be such a danger to put yourself in a position of being in your own echo chamber, and whether that be via social media, or whether that just be like staying with the exact same kinds of people that you've known since primary school, or like the exact same archetypes. Like those are the people that you'll approach if you were at a party, if you were at church, if you were ever in a position. Like you wouldn't go and branch out and talk to somebody who was, let's say, a lot more alt than you, or somebody who looked a lot more put to whatever that means. I think there's a danger in doing that, because you're restricting your ability to converse with other peoples. And the reason why that matters, because how can you know what you don't know? And also, how can you develop connections with people who could end up being, either your best friend, love of your life, or it can be somebody who will just be an acquaintance, which is often the matter. But how can you do that if you're not willing to converse outside of the norm? I think for me, living in a city like London, one of the biggest cities, but also one of the quote loneliest cities, it's so interesting to see how the art of like conversing really isn't a thing. Like you could be on the and people will just not talk to each other. You can live in a house for 5 to 10 years and not know your neighbor's first name whatsoever, not know, like, I think because I grew up in the north of England, where obviously it's not always like, oh, cheerio, like talking to everybody all the time, but at the same time as well, like I know my neighbors' names, I low-key know their professions, they know about me being in law school, like we do chat here and there. If I wanted to go knock on their door and get a piece of sugar, I could do so. And not to get a bit too political, but maybe capitalism and the pursuit of individualism, English, is destroying our ability to converse and talk to one another. Like I mentioned, London is a quite commercialized city. Yes, there are families here, people who reside here just for the sake of doing so, but it is very much hustle bustle, give or take. And I think probably the reason why people won't talk on the tube or talk in the street, for example, is because you have a purpose and aim, which is to get to point A to B to do something, and it's not contributing towards that aim, then what is the purpose of speaking to them? And I think that is why London and, big metropolitan cities as such can be so lonely, is because we are searching for connection, but at the same time we want connection for the sole purpose of fulfilling our aims, goals, etc. Capitalism plays a big part into this, but I'm just talking for the sake of talking at this point. But yeah, I really enjoy being a conversationalist. I love talking. I think this YouTube channel is a way of me developing my ability to talk in a way that's purposeful, useful, and just fun overall. One of the things also that's made me a, you know, good conversationalist, I would say, was my obviously search for knowledge, which I talked about, but also how I search for knowledge. Reading, oh my gosh, reading is so good. I fall into the trap of doom scrolling all the time. And when you doom scroll, A, you're going to be in your echo chamber because algorithms work to divide people. And B, you're going to find yourself in a place where the amount of knowledge you need is going to be very surface level, because obviously short form content is very snap to get you to just tap, ooh, clock it. But when you read a book, you are developing your ability to absorb, retain, critically analyze, and regurgitate in different conversations. That's why I think reading is such, like, even just the ability to be like, oh yes, I read this book, and like, you know, like you gain brownie points is for, you know, socially, but also for yourself as well. It can just be a good treasure seeking activity of you developing your knowledge. I guess to end my random spiel, the next time you go outside, ask someone how their day is going. Like, literally ask and just try and engage and see what's the crack really. Like, conversation is so powerful. It's so enlightening, and it does connect us. And you'd be surprised how many wars in the past have been either started or escalated just because two sides did not want to converse with one another. That is crazy. How many businesses are being conducted just because someone tries to talk? And I say talk, networking, you know what I'm trying to say. Or the amount of friendships that have been cultivated just because you like someone's shoes and you told them. Like, there is so much beauty in talking. Obviously, you know, being very outspoken at times and constantly speaking can also get you into trouble. But I think there are definitely more pros than cons. Let me know what you think down and below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video where Tessie is randomly speaking about things she likes.